On this edition of Music Day, a verified hit, we'll discover why it's a new day, a new dawn, and I'm feeling free. New ways to be in the music industry with Phil Thornton, Robert Kool Bell, and IDK.
We're going to tell you stuff people won't tell you. Real talk with experience.
We talking business up in here.
We're going to give the people what they want.
That's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to Music Day, a verified hit. I am your host, Monique Kelley, and today we have exceptional men on this panel. I am super duper excited. The first person we have is Mr. Phil Thornton, Senior Vice President and General Manager at RCA Inspiration. His credits span music, overseeing some of major gospel artists on the label, including Kirk Franklin, Marvin Sapp, Donnie McClurkin, Travis Green, the Greenleaf soundtrack on Own, Layla Hathaway's live album when he was heading E1, and executive producing TV shows such as Lisa Ray and The Real McCoy, I Married a Baller, R&B Divas of Atlanta, and It's a Man's World. Before he turned 40, which I'm sure was just yesterday, he was inducted into the Stellar Awards Hall of Fame and received the Living Legends Foundation Gospel Music Executive Award. Welcome, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. And next, okay, I'm so excited. Next we have Robert Kool Bell, the iconic songwriter and band leader of Kool The Gang, 7-time Grammy Award winner, 80 million albums worldwide, 31 gold and platinum albums, 25 top R&B hits, 9 top 10 pop hits, and the most sampled band of all time. And did we mention that this year is the 40th anniversary of Celebration, which we all know we'll all be listening to once COVID is over and jamming to it on a whole new level, okay? He's also a Living Legends Foundation Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. And now, this is the best part for me, he's in the champagne business with Kool Champagne. Welcome, Kool Bell.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. It's like the good old days, huh? The music days. Music day.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. This is the day. So just, some of today's topics are going to be making music and performing in the age of COVID-19. That's major right now. What are people listening to nationally, and are musicians trying to create music that pushes the culture forward? And lastly, can music and entertainment impact systemic racism? So let's just dive right in, because right now, as we all know, we're in the midst of a pandemic, the worldwide protest against racism and the fight for justice, and of course, Donald Trump. And if we're battling so many other attacks in our lives, do you guys feel like we should be doing battle in our music too?
What's the question?
Do you feel like with everything going on globally, with the pandemic, with protests about racism, the fight for justice, Donald Trump, we're battling so many things and attacks in our lives. Do you feel like the music should start reflecting that battle that's going on globally as well?
Well, I think music plays an important part to what's going on. I noticed that some of the interviews that I'm doing, we're going back and talking about some of the songs that Kool The Gang had written, like Love and Understanding, Higher Planes. Love and Understanding was dealing with, people, it's time to come together. We need a little bit more love and understanding. And then, of course, who's going to take the weight? We said back in the day, with the song, Who's Gonna Take the Weight, the world was in a desperate situation. And someone's gonna take the weight to be responsible for that. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be what's going on today. higher planes, though, we've been down too long. We have to keep lifting on up to higher planes of what? Of love, understanding, communication, and that seems to be what's going on. Black Lives Matter, all the problems that's going on today, as you said, racism. I think music plays a very important part. Mm-hmm. And music is our message. I'm not a politician. I'm a musician. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do, try to get our message out there.
Absolutely. How about for you, Phil, coming from your end on the executive end, especially for inspirational music, what is your take on that?
I think it's definitely during these times of social injustice and social inequality, we need music that reflect the times. I mean, when you think back to the 60s, especially the Black church was right there on the front line, with Dr. King. You have Mahalia Jackson, Take My Hand, Precious Lord. That was a song during that time. So to me, artists like Kirk on the roster, he released a song a few months ago called Strong God, which speaks to what's going on in our world. But there's others, Corinne Hawthorne put out a song a few weeks ago called Pray and touches on some of the challenges happening in our world. So my job as an executive, because I'm a creative at the core, a creator, and my thing is I just love for artists to reflect what's happening in the times. And our thing is, how do we push this message out to the world? Because people need some positive music right now with, I've been working from home, 23 weeks now. So it's, I need something to get me through those times, and I'm not alone. So I think music is definitely one of those things, and it's art, but it should be celebrated and appreciated, but it's also can help. It's a universal language that unites us all.
Absolutely. And with Kool, I feel like your music has always been positive and been a source of positivity for decades. For you, was that an intentional thing? And how do you feel artists now in terms of positivity in music? Where do you see the difference?
Well, it was somewhat intentional in terms of when we came out, our music has grown over the years. Because I guess of our background when we started back in the 60s, 64 at the Jazzy Acts, and then the Soul Town Band, and then Kool and the Flames. Of course, we had to change that because James Brown had James Brown and the Famous Flames. And we didn't want to have any problems with the Godfather, so we changed it to Kool and the Gang. So that early music, what we were recording, because it had the jazz side of it, the funk side of it, the spiritual side of it. When you listen to people like John Coltrane, Freddie Hubbard, Miles Davis, and the music of this was message music to some degree. So we our music evolved with that, with those type of surroundings and people, I would say influences, mm-hmm. to write some of the songs that we did, like I said, Breeze and Soul, and of course, Summer Madness, Who's Gonna Take the Weight, Open Sesame, and we continue to try to grow. Because, the challenge I think that we had, like every 10 years, it was a challenge. The 60s going to the 70s, and people started saying, well, what are you guys gonna do now? We're going into the 80s. At that time, they were burning records in Chicago, and disco sucks, and dance music sucks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we had to make some changes.
And I feel like nowadays, with being stuck at home and quarantine, people have a nostalgia for that music that just makes you feel good. And I think that's why your band has been sampled so many times, because it's music that just makes you feel good. And right now, we're seeing such a strong reaction to the Black Lives Matter movement. And do you feel, I think I know the answer to this, but from your perspective, how do you think music can rebuild the community?
Well, you said Black Lives Matter movement and the movement that's going on out there. I think it does help for songs that are strong, songs that are strong for the families, songs that you've been locked up. I wouldn't say locked up. We've been here for like 7 months, and you can't get around. So you gotta, you gotta be able to have a little love in the house, less arguments with the mother and the father and the children, more understanding. I know that because of social media, I've been here just doing all these different interviews and getting different feelings and feedback from various people that I probably, wouldn't have spoken to. I did an interview, I don't know who it was, I forget, but he came on, he said, listen, anybody that was into Kool the Gang in the 80s, he said, well, don't listen to this interview. He said, because I'm dealing with Kool the Gang of the 70s. So I said, okay. And then he went back and started playing Funky Granny and Let the Music Take Your Mind and songs that I hadn't heard in a long time. I remember John Coltrane, and he went on playing all the music of the 70s. So we had a strong following in the 70s. I'm not taking anything away from the 80s because we had big records, Joanna, Fresh, Cherish, of course, Celebration,
Mm-hmm.
So, that was what we were doing back then in the 70s.
And Phil, do you feel like there's any risk for labels to support socially conscious music now?
Well, I can't speak for every label, but I can say, as a Sony music executive, we're encouraged to just carry out the artist's vision. That's super important, a company-wide initiative, and beyond just to carrying out the music. We have the $100 million fund committed to social injustice and equality, and how we can pour some of those resources back into our community, to the artists, to the up and coming. So it's no type of censorship from my experience, and not that I'm aware of from our peers, but if anything, they're encouraging the artists to have a voice during this time, which is actually exciting.
And, speaking of exciting times, we have a African-American female vice presidential candidate. I mean, you feel the energy in the air. How do you feel that major, just wonderful movement is going to reflect music now? How do you think it's going to change music, or is the music going to evolve in a different way with this new phenomenon of having a Black female vice presidential candidate?
Well, I do believe it should help change music.
Mm-hmm.
We wrote a song called Ladies Night.
Yes! That is the
right. So if it's Ladies Night and the feel it was right, we're making another move. We're going to take it to the next step, Right. So we feel very good about that. We're working on a project now called, the song is called Pursuit of Happiness, World Peace. And we'll be putting it out there in the next couple of weeks. Oh. And it deals with a lot of things that's going on today. Donald Trump said, let's make America cool again. Well, let's make the world cool again. What about the world? Mm-hmm. What happened back in the days of Adam and Eve when the world should have been cool back then? We have so many problems, so many issues. Let's get on that highway of making the world cool again. Right. So the song is called World Peace, and it'll be out soon.
I can't wait, because I know it's going to be another hit as usual. And let me ask you this. How did you make the transition from, the disco era to, transitioning to, the now, like switching from those different eras?
Well, from the disco era, that time period when we decided to get a lead singer, and they were dealing with dance music and saying that, there was the problems with dance music at the time. And so we had to move on. So we felt that getting the lead singer would take us to another level. That is not just music. Because our music wasn't always just dance music. If you look at Summer Madness and Wild and Peaceful and some of the songs that we had, even with the song Open Sesame, we put a dance beat on it, but the song itself was jazz. If you listen to that was swing. But we had to put it on the floor for people can dance up. So we had to adjust and make the changes through the 80s.
And speaking of adjustment, for you as a performer and Phil, for you as an executive, how are you adjusting to not being able to tour and be live with audiences? How are you as a musician, and Phil, you as an executive, making that transition so you can still do what you love?
Well, I mean, not to be able to tour. I mean, this is our 7th month. You know, the last show we did was back in March. We had just got off a cruise ship. It was a show that was popping R&B. So, I mean, you know, I've been here. I call it lockdown in O-Town. I'm in Orlando, and I have not been able to move for 7 months. I can't even go back up to Jersey without having to be quarantined. So, but what it does is that it opens your, you know, your mind, your thoughts as to how to move forward. Because really, I don't really know the answer. I mean, we're not going, you know, what's going to happen, and they're talking about 2021.
Right.
You know, everything's been pushed to 2021, but it's all about the virus, and no one really have an answer. Well, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. You know, but you know, I could say, why don't you just have a glass of the cool champagne?
That'll make everything all better, Cole.
But I, you know, I'm just saying. But you know, I'm involved in a couple other things. I'm working with what's the gentleman, Tony again? Dusty Baker, in terms of solar energy. He's now the coach of the Houston Astros. We're doing solar energy for Africa, the project that we've been working on. And we're looking to push that out throughout Africa. I'm doing other things. That's helping me as well.
If you love concerts and live theater, going to baseball games, and eating in restaurants, inside, if you love parties and the small talk with the guy who makes you iced coffee the right way, then wear a mask and let's beat this virus so we can get back to the things we love. Mask up, America.
That's good. How about for you, Phil, being an executive in the industry, what are you seeing artists that you deal with? How are they handling not being able to tour right now?
It's, you know, it's been a tough transition and just trying to make sure that our artists are able to survive. So we've had to get creative and work with our partners at the agency. A few of our artists are doing drive-in tours right now. Those are, you know, starting to really like market. So, you know, it's a different experience, but we've had a couple artists that have started doing a few quote unquote spot dates that way. But we're looking to do a full-fledged tour this fall with one of our acts, a drive-in tour. There's also a few platforms that we're in discussions with that to expand the virtual experience. We've had two of our artists, one being Kiara Sheard most recently, who did a virtual tour, and she did it by the region. And so we charged tickets. We did a ticket bundle with, you know, with merch and with music. So it was quite a learning curve. It was a profitable venture, but it's still nothing like being in the building. But we're making the best of it and just trying to find ways for our artists to not only make money, but for also, you know, for us to promote the music as well. So drive-in tours and virtual tours have been a way. And then we're talking with other companies like Patreon to kind of create another revenue stream for a lot of artists for like miscellaneous exclusive content. So again, just, you know, creating those additional revenue streams for our artists and our partners. So it's been quite a challenge though, but we're trying to navigate through this new normal.
Yeah, you got to get creative with it, because who would have ever thought we'd be in this, let alone for 7 months? You know, it's just mind-boggling. And have you discovered new platforms like Twitter dance parties or more movies with music, things like that as well during this time?
Yeah, we've been trying everything virtual we can. We've done every Twitter, Facebook gathering. You can imagine, I mean, even Zoom. So we've been even, for example, with Kiara, with her virtual tour, where we typically would have artists, you know, do a meet and greet backstage with fans. We did a virtual Zoom meet and greet where fans were able to kind of interact. So we've been really experimenting with some of the existing platforms, open to new ones like Patreon, like I mentioned, just trying to figure it out, but figure out how to make money for everyone involved. So keep the experiential side present, but really how to generate some revenue, because it's, you know, artists have families. Our partners are artists, our writers, our producers, they've got families to take care of. And just, so we're very mindful of that. But that's why we're super open on like, how do we just continue to release music? Because that's another way to generate music. And even with some of the virtual shows, be it BET, I just did something with them, you know, a few months ago, and the Stellar Awards, which is airing in August on BET as well. Just, you know, what are the award shows looking like? Because that used to be another way for us to expose and promote. So it's a learning curve for everyone involved. Don't let anybody at a record label tell you they've got to figure it out. Because if they do, call me. But yeah, it's we're all learning together, really, straight up. So.
And I'm just curious, what has been the biggest challenge? Like, out of all the Zooms, the virtual, the drive-in, what was the most challenging thing about it? All of it. Be honest.
You know, I'll say for me, the multiple, like the number of meetings in a day, like, because I feel like looking at the computer for hours at a time, we're going to find out years from this is not healthy. I know it's not healthy now. So that's been tough for me, but also still being able to create. The audio has been pretty easy because a lot of our artists have home studios.
Oh, that's right.
But the video content, how to do that and create it safely. So, you know, with the limited crew and mask and, you know, medic checks at the door, I mean, that's been really our biggest challenge of how to still create music videos, but we've been making it happen. So, but that's probably been the biggest task, that and the 20 meetings I have in a day. So.
And I feel like music is a thing that brings us all together, especially right now. It helps you with your mood. Do you feel like the lyrics in music are shifting now to a different paradigm where it's a little more positive lyrics, or, you know, not as much of the norm of lyrics, a little more positivity?
Monique, you just heard WAP. You tell me. So no, and I love WAP. Shout out to Cardi and Meg Thee Stallion. But again, I think it's always going to be a place for all forms of music. Just being straight up. So again, you're going to have people that kind of have a different perspective. It's still art. It doesn't make it bad. It's just, it may not be for you. So I'm sitting here with a legend with Kool. I grew up listening to Kool. That's great. That's timeless music. But there were also some people that we don't have to name names that were out during the same time that had not had the longevity or had, you know, because again, the quality wasn't there. Like they may have had the quantity like just throughout songs, but I'm sitting with a brother who has been like an architect in greatness for decades and still here and still releasing great music. So nothing has changed. I mean, to this day, you fast forward, there's going to be people that are still upholding the integrity of music and releasing art, because that's what music is to me. And there's some people who just, you know, in it just to get a quick check, a quick hit, and no disrespect, but I'm always with the people that are creating greatness and putting positive and just greatness in the universe. And because when I think about, I mean, Kool, your catalog has been sampled by so many people over the years, time and time again. So I just think about like, that's to me another testament of just the greatness that you and your band, y'all created, man. Like those songs have been like sampled and resampled. I'm just like, and again, I ain't go from when I first heard, I'm an 80s baby. So when I came up, I heard Little Kim's Ladies Night, and I was like, man, this is so fresh. I'm like, I said, oh, this ain't no damn Little Kim. My mom's like, that's Kool in the Gang. And I said, okay, you know, but again, but that's a testament of just how great music never goes away. So we've seen artists that come up with one hit here and there, high and by, but no, you know, but again, there's always room for positive and just great music. So.
And Kool, speaking of which, with lyrics and music now, what are your thoughts about today's lyrics? Because I feel like back in the day, it was about love and romance and just, you know, just making you feel good. Now it's, you know, different type of music. What do you feel about today's artists in the content and their lyrics?
Well, I hope some of the artists will get back to that, or not back, or get into that in terms of writing more positive music, especially with what's going on, you know, today. Mm-hmm. Like I said about, you know, being home, and home is where the heart is, and dealing with the family, and dealing with the struggle that more positive music will come out of that. And I mean, it was not just us. I mean, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Stevie Wonder. Back in the day when I guess when we used to write that way. So hopefully it'll come back around. No disrespect to the Bruno Mars and some of these other acts, who've been influenced by groups like us, Kool The Gang, Ohio Players, that the music will become a little better and the lyrics will be stronger as we go into 2021.
Oh my goodness, time is going so fast.
You're right. 2020 is just about out of here.
Yeah, thank God. Let keep it moving 2020. Be ready for 2021. We need something new.
Emotes say a lot, but they can't say it all. Think your guildmate is struggling? Try these dialogue options. Go beyond emotes. Check in with your guildmates at seizetheawkward.org.
Now, speaking of something new, I see we have been joined by Mr. IDK. Welcome to Music Verified Hit. How you doing?
I'm good. Apologies for my tardiness. I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. Now, let me just give the folks background. IDK is a Maryland-raised rapper and producer who was the first artist to premiere an album with Forbes in 2016. Last year, he signed a joint venture deal with Warner Records to his release Is He Real on his own label, Clue. His name means ignorantly delivering knowledge, and I'm sure you're about to educate all of us as well. So
if you let me. For sure. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. We were actually talking a lot about Black Lives Matter and how music is helping with the movement. What are your thoughts on, Black Lives Matter and how music is helping with that movement?
For me, I first of all love the movement. I think it's very necessary. I think we're in a place right now where music is indirectly helping with the movement, because a lot of the music that some of the people who are trying to now help out with in terms of Black Lives Matter that aren't actually African American, they listen to a lot of our music, they consume it. So indirectly, them being a part of the things that we do, they kind of feel a certain level of responsibility when now a lot of the problems that we go through are so in your face. You know what I mean? I think that's indirectly, because I saw, I know you guys were talking about lyrics or something just now. And I think, unfortunately, they say, I don't remember what book it was that I was reading, but they say the best ways to gain a following are through the following things: either violence, to rebel, or sex. That's what people are attracted to, right? So now, when people start listening to music that have those things, it's almost like kind of speaks to what I do with my music. It's like, I know that those are the things that people like to listen to, but I also know that if I say something that matters within some of the things that they like to listen to, they're a lot more likely to comprehend and actually understand what's right. The moment you come off like you're preaching and you're better than everybody and this is right and that's wrong, I never do that. I tell people my experiences. I never say, don't do this, do that. It's a turnoff for a lot of people. So I think that the music that's being made creates the influence, right? But it's what the people that are making the music do outside of the music. That's what matters. More than the music, you know what I mean? And a lot of the people that I'm seeing are actually using it in a positive way. Like they're spreading awareness. They're letting people know what's going on, whether it's posting certain videos of things that are happening to us with the following that they've built off of the music that some people could say is blasphemy, you know? I love the way things are going. No, in no way, shape, or form do I think that we're where we need to be. That's for sure. And I don't think we'll fully be where we need to be in this lifetime, but I think we have an opportunity to make a crazy, an astonishing level of progress, something that we probably haven't ever been able to do because of social media and because of the platforms that a lot of our leaders have. That's kind of why I'm not like super like into the whole canceling everybody when they do something wrong or make a mistake culture, because it's like we already don't have enough leaders. If somebody makes a mistake and they're our leader, it's like you got to treat it like family. You take them to the side, like little bro, you messed up, bro. Why did you do that? You shouldn't do that. You should do it like this. And then hopefully they learn. But a lot of people will just be like, nah, he's canceled. I'm not messing with him no more. Don't mess with him. And it's like, bro, you don't see white supremacists canceling each other. They're on the same agenda. Like we don't have the room to be doing that, you know? So that's just, I'm sorry, I'm getting into a bunch of stuff, but that's just my thoughts. I got some strong thoughts about all of that.
We like strong thoughts. You know, as you were talking, listening to Black Lives Matter movement, you know, cool, looking at the 60s and the 70s and where we were as Black people then, and, you know, the civil rights movement then, and then looking at where we are now. What are your thoughts between the different generations with the civil rights movement then and Black Lives Matter now? What do you feel is the difference between the two, in your opinion?
So I wasn't there, so I can't fully say. I only see what's documented, and sometimes, you know, what's documented may not be the full story. But based off of what's documented,
we actually have Kool from Kool the Gang who is there, and he could, yeah, Kool. Can you what's your thought on that? He's actually here on the call on the podcast. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, well, Black Lives Matter today is more people coming together. I know we're talking about Black Lives Matter, but you're also talking about lives matter. And everybody's kind of looking at that and respecting that. You know, when you see white people or Asians, or when you look and see all these people that's out there saying that Black Lives Matter, you didn't see that back during in the 60s and the 70s. You know, you saw what we saw during that time. But today, like, everybody's coming together. You got people in London talking about Black Lives Matter. People in Israel, Black Lives Matter. The Chinese, Black Lives Matter. Lives matter. It's to me, like this brother, I think it's the young movement that's, you know, to say, hey, we ain't going for that old time religion which y'all had. You know, the young folks, the millennials, is making another move, making a serious move. Now, of course, you have social media, but they're coming out, and I think they're very serious about what's going on. Not to say that we weren't serious, but they're making the difference. That's what matters. What's going on with these young people there?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something, IDK?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like seeing other groups of people pushing the Black Lives Matter movement to the extent that they're doing it is a big difference. Again, that's why I was saying I don't know what was documented, everything. That's why I'm like, when I saw what was documented, I saw a majority of Black people. You'd see sprinkles of white people there, here and there, but it was a majority Black people pushing the movement, and everybody else was kind of like, that's not my problem. I'm not Black, so I don't got to deal with that for the most part. Now people are starting to get to a place where they understand the importance of not being, not just being anti-racist, but being pro-Black. You know, we have an unfair disadvantage because of how we were brought to this country a lot of the time. And it's a lot more unfair than even some of the immigrants that come from other countries or by their choice. So people are starting to understand and see that and pay attention to that, and they're taking a stance. A lot of people are pressured to do it because of social media, because they follow this artist and they consume this, and that's the pressure we're putting on them. So, you know, some people genuinely feel this, some people are pressured to do this, but that's fine. all of that is awareness, and that's cool. I'm cool with that. Like, I would prefer people to genuinely feel that way, but at least we got something. Now, that's why I said I don't know if it's going to happen in our generation, but we're making a level of progress that we have never made before. And I think we got to focus on that and continue to drill that in and continue to push this movement.
I love that. And, you know, Phil, from your lens, from where you sit, how do you see with your label, what do you think they're going to be doing differently, more of in line with this movement now?
You just got to continue to be loud. I mean, I have some of my colleagues that, you know, talk to me about all lives matter. And I remind them that by saying Black Lives Matter, we're not discounting any other group or set of people. But what I'm saying, if I'm on the street, of a bunch of houses, and this one house is on fire, we don't need to be worried about the other houses in that moment. This shit on fire right here. We got to look at the houses on fire. Let's address this one. And that's all we're saying, like, Black lives, we're the ones that are getting publicly lynched on video for you to see. Again, it's been happening for decades. It's just now being documented. And so, but yeah, we got a responsibility. And I tell people, yeah, I work for Sony Music. I'm grateful for it. But before all that, I'm a Black man. And when they see me, I get pulled over. I'm a Black man in the car. I'm a Black man before all of this. So yeah, to me, it's like, we got to continue to just push for equality, man. And it's to IDK's point, hopefully we see it in our lifetime, but even if our grandkids benefit from the work and the foundation we're laying now, it's all worth it. But we got to, you know, that's what it's got to be at this point. So
I love that.
I'm doing the work.
No, I love that. I love what you said. And, you know, whenever people bring up all lives matter and things like that, a lot of something that goes hand in hand with that with a lot of people is they try to say, you know, everybody's not racist. All white people aren't racist. And what I usually say to that is, a white person being racist could cost me my life. Me assuming a white person being racist is not necessarily going to cost them their life. It's me avoiding a situation that could happen. It's literally, when I go on tour, it's no joke. If we're down south somewhere and I feel like I got to go use the bathroom, I feel so uncomfortable walking in. It could be a situation where nobody's actually racist, but I have to brace myself for what could possibly happen because I don't know what I'm walking into. It's not the same way the other way around. And that right there says that we have something that needs to be, that people need to pay attention to a little bit more than maybe what white people and other people have to go through. So it's like, that's the thing that I'm trying to like get across to other people. You know what I mean? We're not allowed to us giving you the benefit of the doubt could cost us our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, IDK, not to cut you off, but one of the things that I feel you've kind of taken control of your own narrative as it relates to things, because at the end of the day, you own your master recordings. You're not a quote unquote slave. And is there a message in the music? And if there is, are you giving one? Because I love that you own your own recordings. This is your stuff. And that's taking control of the narrative.
So the most important thing that to know and people should know is that for me, everything that has to do with the progression of Black people, for me, is my stance is educating our people, period. I might go out and protest and check it out and see what's going on and stuff. I think people need to protest because that spreads awareness, but everything I do is through education. Because I think if I was to put percentage on everything, I'd say 20% of it is spreading awareness through probably protesting and things like that. I think 10% of it is time and waiting. I think 80% of it is educating our people on what to do, what not to do. So I'll give you an example. I just bought land in Joshua Tree, right? For the same price, for less than most people would have bought a chain. Like I'm talking about, I own a piece of America. Acres.
Congratulations.
Of land.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Acres of land. You know who taught me that? A Jewish person, not a white person. I learned this from a Jewish person. But guess what? I learned so much from some certain people, not a Black person, sorry, Jewish person. I learned so much from them And a lot of people learn things from them because, you know, they have a history of finance. That's what they come from. They pass this down generation to generation. Our problem is we haven't been doing that. How come I bought this land and I told everybody that around me about this land and nobody knew they could do that? It seemed like that was impossible to do, you know, to a lot of Black people. The problem is we're not educating each other. We're not taking the time to really do that. And I think that's one of the most important things right now that we can do is when we gain knowledge that's valuable, we actually take that and then give it to the next Black person. And we continue to do that. You know, someone just said, are we too competitive? Hell yeah. We are definitely. I'm not competing with nobody. I'm competing with myself. I want to be a better version of me every day. I've reached a certain level of success. You know, when you start competing with everybody, trying to see what they got and all that, you start to lose the big picture, one, and then you start to actually hurt yourself. So I've gotten out of that. I don't even think about that. I literally compete with myself and everybody who is especially Black, especially people that are part of my team, family, whoever people I care about. I try to give them the knowledge because here's the thing. If I can help you get to somewhere, right? If anything happens to me, hopefully the idea is you could do the same for me and we can continue to build each other up. Here's a way to break that down. This is basically an analogy or metaphor, but it's direct.
There's a lot of stereotypes around Black men created by false media narratives.
They're shown as thugs, gangsters.
It's an unfair judgment.
Black men care about Black women.
Black men care about their families. Black men care about this world.
Dove Men Plus Care and the MBPA are partnering to change the way the world sees and treats Black men. Join us at committocarenow.com.
If I buy this land in Joshua Tree, and then I say, I want you to buy this land in Joshua Tree too. It's cheap, go get it. If you buy land right next to mine and you decide to build a house there, the value of my land goes up. If I build my house, your value of your land goes up. If we get more and more people to keep doing this, eventually all of our land is going to be worth millions of dollars. That's the exact same concept in the sense of us helping each other out as opposed to trying to, if I go over there, I'm like, I got land in Joshua Tree. I'm not telling nobody. All right, we're going to sit there and land ain't going to be, you know what I'm saying?
And you know what, speaking of, you know, helping people out, one of the things is through, you know, giving back. And I know Kool Bell, as a living legend, how is Kool The Gang and your foundation responding to this time? Because I know you have a wonderful foundation too, and you're giving back. So how are you doing that during this time, Kool?
Well, we're working towards that. I mean, we have the Kool Kids Foundation that we're going to be doing some things next month. And we have been involved with various fundraisers over the years. And we believe it's very important to give back, you know, and, you know, it's teaching, I guess, back in the day, you know, with the, I have to say, the Nation of Islam, because they talk about working together and building restaurants and building schools and teaching to children. It's very important, you know, because, you know, you have knowledge and you have wisdom. But the one who understands the knowledge and the wisdom that they have and to be able to apply that to life, because you can be knowledgeable and living up in the mountain somewhere, but what you're doing with the knowledge that you have, what are you applying to the world, help things move in the world? So to me, you know, understanding is very important. So we have to work towards that, you know, and that's kind of like how I see it. You know, too much is given, much is expected of.
I love that. And Phil, from what I remember, you're an HBCU graduate, correct?
Absolutely, Norfolk State.
Yes, I was down the street from you at Hampton. How you doing?
Oh, how unfortunate. DMV, DMV, what up? You know what I mean?
Sir, yes, sir.
My sister went to Hampton. My sister's a Hampton graduate, so that was, you know, I would go over there and see my frat brothers on that side of the ward every now and then just to give them a little bit of class. But, you know,
That's too bad. Now, how do you feel the role of HBCUs play in music, Black Lives Matter, and just now, I think, you know, obviously we have one-sided views on it, but what's your take on it with HBCUs and how it gives back to the community?
HBCUs, I mean, when I think about it, I mean, I always, from growing up, you know, one of the first movies I remember just that I loved was School Days. Spike Lee did it back in the 80s. And I was like, man, this, from that day, that in a different world, I was like, all right, I'm going to HBCU. And it was like, I'm going to go just because I felt like that was the community. Nothing against, you know, other universities. I have siblings that went to some of those and friends, obviously. But for me, it was that valuable experience because you know, I love my HBCU experience. I love just, it felt the culture, the community, like it just, the music, that was a heartbeat. I remember being in college and a young Pharrell Williams would come to, you know, in the yard and hang out with me and we would just kick it and just in front of the student union. Like that was the energy, but it was the heartbeat and the pulse of what was happening in our world. You know what I mean? Like we, you know, back then we had computers and stuff, but it was just like just the energy. You knew what the hot song was if you went to the Sweatbox and just the dance or the step show or whatever. You know what I mean? Just the whole culture, man. Nothing like the HBCU life. I encourage anybody just, if you didn't go, just go visit the campus. Just hang out for a week. It's just such an experience, especially when to Norfolk State. You know, we party. I don't know about Hampton, but you know,
we got it in. Don't trip. We got it still.
we partied over in that shoe though. You know, we got it in on that side of the water. But no, it's an experience that I'll never forget, and it taught me a lot. I met a lot of great people, and it actually showed me how to network with our community. Even like I was that person who always wanted to collaborate. I'm never the person who's like, oh, I got a seat at the table. That's all I need. Nah, I got a seat, but I need to go create more seats, more opportunities. And so that's why I even applaud you, IDK, man, just really changing the narrative, man. Like as an artist and a creative, like you really, man, just ownership out the gate of your original recordings, because I don't like to say the word master. That one, Sony has now changed that, so we don't say master recordings. We say original recordings, because that gives me a whole nother, you know, feeling. But you know, my thing is, but it's something that's so necessary, because when you think about the amount of money that labels are making and generating off of your art, your creativity, it's the least that you know. Why wouldn't that happen? And so we're going to see more of those deals, is my prayer and my belief. And that's why one of the reasons I want to be in the building, to champion more of those type of conversations and those structures, because it's a new day. You know, you got 40,000 songs hitting DSPs a day. You know, if you got your right team and knowledge and reading and knowing how to, again, like I'm not discounting the value of major labels, but you can do it without one. And it's been documented. So it's about finding the partnership that makes sense for you. But I just want to celebrate IDK, because I'm like, man, just ownership. I know it didn't happen overnight, and just, you know, you put out a number of mixtapes, but that should be celebrated. But yeah, back to the HBCU life. Monique, it wasn't nothing like it. It was nothing like it. And I just tell everybody, that's why, but I'm trying to pay it forward now, even in my role in my seat at Sony, some of the resources that we have, pouring it back to get internships from the HBCUs. How are we hiring new people? I'm looking at the HBCUs as well.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes, like, they're looked over. Like, you know what I mean? It's a lot of nepotism that happens within labels. Like, oh, this is the president's niece, or the president's, you know, such and such. And so they get the job just offered by fact of nepotism. But we need to create that pipeline of talent, that people that look like us.
Absolutely.
And so that's something where we got it. So, okay, yeah, I'm an HBCU graduate, but now I'm like, I had to really take a moment like a few years ago, like, yo, what am I doing? Yeah. What am I doing? How am I giving back? How am I paying it forward? Because that's really what it's about. So those are things that I have put in motion here locally in Tennessee State, Fisk University. I'm looking to get back to Norfolk State and trying to create that pipeline, and Hampton, and Howard and Morgan, some of the other, you know, just HBCUs that I just, you know, have a direct into. But we got to do that, because that's where there's so much talent, so much executive talent, and just artists like that are there to just need an opportunity. That's all they need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And IDK, in terms of the business side and doing that joint venture, walk us through that in terms of the business side of it and what you learned from it and what you would tell someone coming up from what you learned.
Okay. So boom. The big reason why I was able to get the specific deal that I got was, one, I built the demand through me putting out music independently. Two, when I did my when I started making music, I was doing independent distributor deals where they give you an advance for one project. You still own it, you still keep it, but when you recoup, everything is good. But it's one-off deals. And I got to the point where I built a rapport with Foundation Media, to the point where, man, I'll get into numbers. I was able to get maybe $150,000 for one project independently, kept the masters, everything, because I'd kept recouping so many times with them that they knew that I'd be good for it. So when I did that, I didn't buy a chain. I paid for studio equipment.
Oh my God, IDK, you're so smart.
And I bought a studio and I made the album that was my debut major label album off of that. So shout out to Top from TDE. Top is the one who told me, don't go to the label until your album is done. Go to it with a finished album. Wow. So I finished my album and then I started shopping around, and people thought the album was so good. I wouldn't take a meeting unless I played the album from beginning to end, because I wanted you to see me as an artist, not just a quick single or anything like that. Wow. I made everybody who listened, every CEO, every chairman, they listened to the album from top to bottom. And it got to the point where every time I would go to play the album, I'd basically get a deal or offer the next day or that same day. And then it became a thing where there was a bidding war, and I wouldn't sign to a label unless I had my own imprint. Honestly, the master thing, the licensing deal thing, didn't happen till the last stretch. It was actually Sylvia Rome from Sony, from Epic. Yeah. She offered me a really, really good deal with a lot of money and gave me the exclusive license. And that changed the bidding war, because everybody else was trying to just keep the masters and everything. And that's when I was like, oh, I could do that too. It was just being poised, I was being poised. I didn't rush into anything. It was like probably a 3-month process of just dealing with the deals and back and forth and all the holidays and not being able to respond, things like that. But I was poised. And then Warner came. They said they didn't think they could counter the offer, because it was just crazy. Like, she came really, really well. And I was thinking about I was going to Epic. But then they came back. I remember I was at South by Southwest, and my lawyers called me and they're like, yo, are you sitting down? I'm like, yeah, what's up? And they told me what the deal was. And I was like, you know what? I'm not even going to be greedy. I'm good. That's the deal that I want. I like the team. We've met a couple times. That's what I'm going to do. We don't even have to keep going back and forth. You know what I mean? And that literally was how I got to the deal. But the most important thing was I invested back. All the money that I made, I basically invested back into my craft. And I created a situation where now I have my own studio. So, when it's time to record, I pay, the label pays me to record at my house.
Oh my God.
Because I don't, I don't have to go to the studio. I have good equipment. Like, I have like the top of the line stuff. Actually, speaking of investment, there was a mic that I paid $7,000 for it when I first got it. That same mic, they stopped making it, is now $25,000.
Oh my God.
Seriously. Wow. So, I'm glad that I did that.
Now, speaking of the business side too, what cool for you, you've done the music and you consistently keep your business muscle going. So tell us how you transfer from the music business, and now you're going to the champagne distribution business. Tell us about that.
Oh, no, not champagne. I'm going into more so as an idea that, in real estate.
Oh, no, IDK. That was for from Kool The Gang.
Oh, sorry. All right.
IDK, he's doing champagne now. Okay.
I see it there, right there.
When you get, a few years down the line, you might be doing champagne next. So, Kool. Tell us, Kool. Tell us how you keep moving with the time, and now you are doing champagne. How's that business?
Well, the champagne business is quite different from the record business. I understand the record business, grew up in the record business, and had my ups and downs, in that. And I'm learning that in the champagne business, it's every state has distribution, and there are certain compliances you have to get an okay in each state. It's not like when you put a record out and you just put it out across the board. It's going to be played on all the radio stations. You have to deal with each state, and each state has, their compliances. So I'm living and learning something new, how to do that. Right now we're just in, Florida, which we revamp in Florida. We're in Jersey, we're in California, and we're in New York.
That's huge.
Looking at Georgia and New Orleans. So, you live and learn. You learn to live how to do that. Like in the record business, record business is the record business. That's saying that the record company, because the record company gives you the start. And you have to learn what it's all about. They don't call it like the brother was saying masters anymore. But you have to learn how to deal with that, to understand the publishing side, understanding the writing side. Because I think publishing really started from publishing. The control of your writers and your music is very important, And right now, because, my brother, in terms of the masters, we recording everything that we did in the 70s and the 80s. And we're changing it up to the days now because we control them. We control our masters now. Of course, they have their own masters. They're going to continue. We will be competing with ourselves and competing with them. Right. But we just lower the price.
And Kool, let me ask you this, because what I love is we have two different generations here. You are a legend. We have IDK. He's going to be an up-and-coming legend. If you could give IDK a pearl of wisdom from all your decades of experience, what would that be?
Well, I'll have to say that IDK is moving in the right direction. He got a good handle on what's happening out there. Something that we didn't get. Yeah, I take my hat out there. I would, brother, you're going in the right direction. I like how like how you're thinking, like how you move. But now we have that platform to do that with social media. We didn't have that before, but today we have that. And like the other brother here was saying about being able to put things out without having, you can go direct to the consumer without having to go to the record company.
Right.
Sometimes
so from a label perspective, what's a pearl of wisdom you can drop for us today?
That question is to
me.
To Phil. Yeah.
Okay.
How about for you? What's the pearl of wisdom?
I just want to say one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We got kind of like tired of the record company doing 1 for Kool, 5 for us, 10 for us, 5 for Kool. But when you talk about platinum and 80 platinum records, we didn't really get all of that. I'm just trying to be honest.
That's real.
We didn't get what we deserved. We built a lot of floors in these buildings. You know what I mean? And they take your catalog to take don't disrespect a young artist that's coming up, and they take your catalog and push that artist because of the money they're making from your catalog. So catalog publishing masters are very important.
Yeah.
And I think something else that was said is just like everybody's like record companies they want to know what's the last McDonald's or Burger King. If you ain't doing that, you can't even get a deal. Groups like us, we can't even get a deal these days. So it's good to have social media. We can go a different route. Because that's what they look at. But they forget who helped build a house. So I
love that. Thank you.
Hey, I had a question for Kool, Monique. I'm just curious to know, Kool, you're like Kool the Gang has been sampled so many times. Are you flattered when people sample your catalog, or you got an issue with that? I'm just curious. Like, how do you feel it's like when people are reimagining some of those classics?
That's a good question.
No, we don't have an issue with it this particular time. It was the time that we did because we weren't getting paid for what was being done. And when they passed the law in terms of no record company can put anything out without getting the sample rights and okay to do these things, before you have to put somebody on sample patrol because you don't know what's going on out there.
Right.
But,
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, but today, yeah, to answer your question, I mean, when you have a Summer of Madness, and Will Smith did that open, did Summertime, you know, with Will Smith. But hey, that's great because he got a platinum #1 record. We didn't get a #1 record on that song, but other records we did, you know. Diddy doing Hollywood Swinging with Mace and Tribe Called Quest, and it goes on and on and on. But it's kind of like open up the door to their market, you know, the who. So thank you for that. I'm thankful for that.
Let me say this too. I sampled one of these songs. I cleared it though, and it was on the album. it was on the album that I did with Warner. I did that, like, so that's just so you know, and I'm very grateful for being able to do that.
Okay.
I love that. I know we're coming to a close, and I tell you, where else are you gonna find Robert Kool Bell, IDK, and Phil Thornton all on this same podcast, right here on Music Day? This is definitely a verified hit. And I just want to thank you gentlemen. I've learned so much from the three of you guys today, and it was an honor to talk to you guys. And thank you so much for dropping all these gems and joining us here at Music Day.
Well, I heard some one thing. Hey, what you got to say? Listen to me say. That's what
jamming on that one. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you.
Music Day, a verified hit, is presented by the Living Legends Foundation, Inc. Real talk with experience. Please follow and share Music Day on Instagram at Living Legends Foundation and at Music Day Podcast, on Twitter at the LLF Inc. Join us on Facebook, The Living Legends Foundation. Executive producers are Jacqueline Reinhardt, Mark Hill, Ken Johnson, and Pat Shields. Our associate producers are Shannon Henderson, Sheila Eldridge, Tony Winger, Vivian Scott Chu, and Varnell Johnson. Production by Mark Hill Creative. Talent booking, Black Dot LLC. Theme music by Wendell Wellman for Star Maker Global. Interstitial music by William Reinhardt. And I'm your announcer, Jay Johnson.